key, and this is something that I need to write out as a history. That really, I started dreaming about the yellow house when I was 12 in the Cubby Hole. Yeah, so that's where the yellow house I saw, and I asked the Lord about my life as I moved forward. At first, I was pretending that He was good. I'm the Catholic boy, and I just known the severity of God, and I known that I had the gift of obnoxiousness. So I thought the Lord was not on my side. I just had done some. I smacked. I'll get off subject if I'm not careful. So the point is that I went in there, and I skipped church, and I had my Mad magazines in there, but I got tired of them, so I started pretending that God was real and that He really liked me, and He was closer than a brother. And there was one point where I realized I wasn't pretending, and there was this orange presence that came, and then He came, and I never would look at Him directly because I just thought I'd die, but we were knee to knee, and I'm holding His hands, and I'm a rough and tumble little boy, but I write those poems, that I can't figure out why you ever had to die. It makes me want to cry. Please hold on real tight. There's going to be a fight, but after there was just this surrender to Him and this desire to be all of His, and I don't know if it was the moment I really gave Him my all, but it was a time that I connected, and it really planted a deep seed. But I felt comfortable, like a little child, to ask my dad or daddy anything. So I asked him about my future, and that's when I saw Terry and the 4 kids. I saw my 4 seasons of life at that point. Yeah, it was awesome, and it's written down, and a number of the people on my board, we started with it, and Terry was there, and others just a lot of tears because it just was not my experience, but it really lived it for the sake of others. And it brought them into remembrance of the goodness of God, and little seeds of thought that they got crystallized. But I sure appreciate you asking, Cruz, at it. So at 12, there was 4 stages, from 12 to 18, and 18 to 30, then 30 to 50, and then 50 on. And 50 on was going to be my greatest days. And so it was very, very stunning. So 12 to 18 was a development stage for me as man. And then 18 to 30, I went to war. By that, I shared the gospel a lot, not till I was 23, but I was heading that way after 18. And then at 30, it was family years, 30 to 50. And so then that happened. And I saw a woman with 4 children. And so when we miscarried, it didn't settle on us because we knew. And we appreciated the goodness of God. I mean, it was painful, but I asked Him, where was I to live? And so He showed me a yellow house that was in the Highlands. And it was a castle, and it was on the hill that we were living, Cruz, up there in the Highlands. And it was overlooking a place that would be called Poverty Flats, but then it'd be called the Land of Benevolence, Benevolent Radiant Redding. And so that's in there at 12, and there'd be a Norwegian man that I'd meet there. And Bill Johnson's half Norwegian, and he would be a friend for life. So when I met him the first time, he had come out into the assembly, or had his secretary come out into the assembly because Bob Jones had said that I was there. And so he brought me in. I said, the Norwegian man. And I started talking about every vehicle he had ever drove. And every vehicle was the stages of his life. Like he went from a mountain bike to orange Volkswagen with all these people in it, like a hippie mobile. And then he went to an SUV that was luxurious. And And he called Benny in and he said, describe those vehicles. And he cried. It was all the vehicles. And then he took me right up to a staff meeting. And there were some there that I had seen in the yellow house, but I called it hope centers at that point. And so, because they were filled with radiant hope. So, and they were a journey. They weren't just a place that was your settled home. It was a place that was moving and living and breathing. And listen to this, Cruz. There were rooms without roofs in every one of the yellow houses. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, in the yellow house. And so, and there was these 12 rooms, and it was funny because there were more rooms because I was trying to put them in there to this yellow house, but it was a place that I would travel to and that I would live when I was ready to be in the now. And there was 2 real stages of my life. There was one where I was dedicated to salvation in the Army, and then after 50, I was dedicated to a life that was radiant, being imparted to others. So I moved from just passing through this life to living and occupying in the goodness of God. I actually had a statement from the Lord last night that was really touching about living, and I'll get that back in here. But I just was home, and everything was protected in the house. It was play therapy. It was the goodness of God was just soaked that there could be no evil that could get you in the house, and there was lessons that could really deal with your depths of your heart, but the lessons were always wonderful because there was no condemnation or judgment with the lessons, and it was always proud of me no matter what I did. And I knew that I'd be at a challenging time in my life when I go into it, but at that point, he said, if you ever lose joy, then you've left the house, and I can't protect you the same way.